Well, good evening, everybody out there in internet land. Hi, how you doing? Glad to see you, and welcome to Chattin on the Porch, one of the liveliest conversational pieces all across social media. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the beau in the chapeau. I am sometimes known as the fine fella in the fedora. I am occasionally called the common man with common sense, and on occasion I am the wise guy in the wide brim. But above all else, I am always called your host. We are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, we are on Rumble. So if you haven't done it yet, send out messages to friends of yours. Tell everybody, get on in here. It's going to get real interesting. Looks like we got people in here already. All right. Welcome, Connecticut. We're glad to have you, you lovely Yankee thing, you. And hello, Gypsy. Good to see y'all. We'll give everybody a few minutes to settle into the room. Check out what's going on tonight over on Rumble. Oh, we've already got people over on Rumble. Bless their hearts. TBA369 says, can't hang out very long, but I saw the front porch was on night. I thought I'd drop in. TBA, you're good. Don't worry about it. You're cool. Glad to have you. And all you other Rumblers over there, you lovely lurkers, we're glad to have you. Oh, goodness. So much to talk about tonight. Glad to have everybody in the house. As I say, going to be a good evening. We got some things lined up to talk about, all kinds of items in the news, and we're here for it. Now, frankly, let's be honest about it. You've waited through your local news broadcast. That was depressing. You waited through the national news broadcast. That was even worse, because not only is it depressing, you're sitting there knowing, these people are gaslighting me, and I know they're gaslighting me. But where am I going to go to find out what's really going on? Oh, aren't you glad you came to my live stream? God love your hearts. Anyway, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter. So definitely tell your friends, tell your frenemies, enemies, whatever. Tell them to get on in here. We'll sit down and talk it all out. And as we start to drop the volume on the music, we know you're settling into your chairs, getting ready to have a good evening. Oh, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right, TBA. We are so gaslit. It's just bordering on the stupid. We'll even get into some of that tonight. I got a thing or two to say about that. So good to have you guys here for Chatting on the Porch. As I've mentioned, in I guess now the past couple live streams, I'm going to start doing a live stream in the evenings, if for no other reason to make it easier on me, your host, because that whole staying up till 12:30 or 1 in the morning getting a video uploaded is just, it's wearing on the mind and body. And honestly, it's kind of reached the point after about a year of doing this, I think I can do live streams regularly through the week. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the best, that I'm the best there is at doing what I do, but I think I'm comfortable enough behind a microphone that I can hold a show for an hour and a half or 2 hours and make it interesting and make it fun and get my points across and give you guys the chance to interact too. And we just enjoy ourselves doing it. So let's get together, let's have some fun, let's talk. And before we get really a deep dive into the news, I need to send out a couple of congratulations, and both of these things are kind of close to my heart, but albeit for different reasons. And Gypsy asked the question: Is there a stronger word for gaslighting? Yeah, bullshitted. Yeah, and TBS, there's too much going on to save it for one night a week and a Saturday morning. I agree with you. I mean, it's kind of reaching that point. And like I told everybody, you give me a chance to get it grooved in real good, and we'll make this live stream a lot of fun. And y'all been around me long enough to know, if you're here regulars here on the porch, that my influences are a lot of old talk radio, a lot of days of Rush Limbaugh and G. Gordon Liddy and many, many others, local and national broadcasters that kind of influence my style. So you're going to get a certain amount of that. Absent, of course, the professional broadcasting things. I mean, I'll hit the wrong button every so often to do the wrong thing, but you guys know my style. So I don't see why we can't translate some of that, talk radio sensibility over to what we do here on social media. So that's what we're going to try and do in the evenings. And I agree with you completely, TBA. There's just way too much to save it all for one Saturday morning. It's just kind of crazy. We've been having them all day. Going to get some more tonight, probably starting around 11 o'clock Eastern where I'm at, and going to have some Friday. And finally, the weekend starts drying out. Thank God, Um, the weather right now outside, to answer your question, it's warm, but it's rainy. That's the best way I know how to describe it. And hopefully, y'all where you are safe. Um, WWG1 over on Rumble says, I had nothing better to do tonight, so here I am. Oh, thanks a lot. I had nothing better to do. I thought I'd come in here, No. We love you. We're glad you're here. We're glad to have everybody here that shows up. Grab some friends and bring them with you. Especially those who are the uninitiated. Well, anyway, my first congratulations. And I don't know how many of y'all saw this or how many of y'all follow this. As a lot of you may know, Chrissy Mayer has been with Bean. Some people would call it a child, but she'd probably say the Bean. Well, yesterday, very early in the morning, she and her husband Frank had their first child together. It's a very healthy baby boy, and she posted on social media. So I'm not putting anything out of school here, but I want to say congratulations to Chrissy and to Frank. And I responded. I said, this child is gonna grow up with so much love from not just the two of them, but from all of the Beans unofficial aunts and uncles. And believe me, as many people as Chrissy and Frank know, this kid's going to have more aunts and uncles keeping an eye on him than anybody could possibly imagine. This kid's not going to be able to get away with crap. Okay. So I want to say congratulations to Chrissy and Frank. And, just I'm very happy for both of them. And that baby is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And wishing nothing but the best for them, nothing but the best for little Frank, as he's now being referred to. I'm sure that Chrissy will call him many different things before it's all said and done. Especially she'll call him many embarrassing things when he gets to his teenage years, to the point that he'll go, "Mom," she'll be getting a lot of that. But my point. So anyway, congratulations to Frank and Chrissy on the birth of their first child, and prayers and for them in the days ahead. I also want to say congratulations, and this one's kind of local to where I am. If you have ever had the occasion to travel through the state of West Virginia, you will have come across an eatery known as Tudor's Biscuit World. Well, apparently, Tudor's, along with about 3 other places around the country, or I should say in the South particularly, have been involved in a contest for who has the best biscuit. And apparently, in the past few days, Tudor's has won out. This is on their Twitter page. Thank you for voting us the South's best biscuit in the Garden and Gun Bracket Contest. The win was made possible by our customers. Truly appreciate each and every one of you. Congratulations to Parker's Kitchen and all other contestants from the competition. And now I will tell you, being native to West Virginia, I have eaten at Tudor's more times than I can absolutely think about. And I'm pretty consistent. Okay. Usually if I go to a Tudor's, I know exactly what I'm getting: a sausage egg biscuit, maybe a side order of bacon. Yes, Gypsy, side order of bacon. That's where it comes from. And a tea or a diet Pepsi or whatever. But to see and Tudor's has been around in West Virginia now for probably, gosh, 35 years, I guess, maybe. I know I think they started in the mid 1980s. That puts them at about, oh gosh, almost 40 years. So they're something of a West Virginia institution. So if you ever travel through my state, almost anywhere you go, you will find a Tudor's Biscuit World. If you've never eaten at that fine establishment, I recommend them to you. It's not anything fancy. It's not anything fancy at all, but you want something that will absolutely stick to your ribs. This is just good home food. And yeah. Now you may be a Michigan girl, but you know of which I speak. You know of which I speak. So congratulations to Tudor. So lots of good news going around these days. And there's even some news in the news. And we're about to dive into some of that. So if you haven't done it yet, Go ahead, smash the like button, share the link with friends of yours, put it out on social media, tell them to get their butts in here because they're about to get some of the best analysis on the news that they're ever going to find anywhere in the whole of social media. And I am just that modest about it. WWG1 says Tutors rigged the poll. I'm sure of it. Oh, now, come on now. We don't know if Tutors is run by Democrats. Daggone it. Come on now. Let's just keep it positive here. No, I'm just messing with you. Who knows? I don't know how they did it, but yeah, I'm happy for my home style institution. So, items in the news. I've got some updates to some stuff I've been talking about. And one of them, I did a video about this, came out this morning about the defeat of the FISA reauthorization bill that's now trying to work its way through the House of Representatives. Now, I say trying because a group of conservative Republicans and the whole of the Democrat caucus got together yesterday and blocked consideration of a rules package. Now, let me basically explain how this went down. FISA, and particularly Section 702 of FISA, are on a 5-year renewal. So FISA is up for renewal this year. And the Congress has until April 19th to reauthorize the whole of the FISA Act and keep it going for another 5 years. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with FISA basically gives a specialized authorization for the FBI to engage in warrantless search of telecommunications, among other things. And this has been deeply troubling to any number of different people, and understandably so. Libertarians and privacy advocates have long been saying, hey, guys, look, whether you like Donald Trump, don't like Donald Trump, here's the most blatant case of abuse that we've got. They spied on the man's campaign without authorization, without justification. It's time for us to do some serious reforms of FISA. Well, there have been 2 tracks that this thing's been going down. One bill to reauthorize FISA has some reforms in it. The bill is drafted by the intelligence community or people on the intelligence committee, and it's not nearly as strong as some people would like. On the other side, you have a judiciary crafted bill that would require a warrant before, anything can be done as far as surveillance of individual citizens and their communications, etc. And that's the biggest bone to pick with this thing, among other reasons, is you could be completely innocent of something, but if you happen to make certain communication with certain people outside the United States for whatever reason, well, lo and behold, you're swept up in a whole FISA thing. Well, yesterday, 19 Republicans, and a lot of names you're probably familiar with, people like Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, Matt Gaetz, Boebert, Burchett of Tennessee, just a slew of them. 19 of them got together with the entirety of the House Democrat caucus, and they killed the thing. Now, when I say they killed it, whenever a bill comes up to the floor of the House, it comes out of the Rules Committee with a rule on it. Okay, here are the rules of the debate before you go to a vote on final passage. This thing had so much opposition to it, the House killed it at the rule issuing stage. Okay. The proponents of the bill that was going to be brought to the floor yesterday didn't even get to a vote on reauthorization. It got to borrow an expression here, and forgive me if this comes off as being a little crass, this thing got killed in the crib. Before this thing could even before the debate could even get started, these 19 Republicans and the whole of the Democrat are like, oh, hell no, we ain't even letting this thing come up for a vote. Forget it. Not happening. So this left poor old Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, in a very bad way. he knows he's up against the clock. He's basically now down to 8 days. He's got to, if he's going to do this, if FISA is going to be reauthorized, they got 8 days left to do it. And you've got a serious divide inside the Republican caucus. Matter of fact, after they held this, I'll call it a test vote for simpler language. After they had this test vote the other day, they went to a meeting about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Apparently, after they shut the doors, everything got aired out with volume. In other words, there's a whole lot of hell raising going on behind closed doors. You had people like, Mike Rogers, who's the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He raising hell. Then you got Burchett on the other side. He's raising hell. Matt Gaetz, he's raising hell. And you got MTG, she's raising hell. And Jim Jordan's raising hell. Everybody's raising hell about this. But out of all that hell raising, they got no plan, at least until now. And that takes us to our first article from thehill.com. Quote, House leadership, or I should say headline, House leadership eyes FISA Plan B after failed vote. Article by Rebecca Besch and Michael Schnell. We have the following. House leadership is eyeing a Plan B to reauthorize the country's spying authority after a band of 19 GOP lawmakers blocked the legislation from advancing Wednesday. The plan under discussion would shorten the reauthorization of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act from 5 years down to 2 and bring the controversial package back before the Rules Committee, a member and a source familiar with the situation told The Hill. Leaders are looking to bring the legislation through the Rules Panel as a standalone bill, sources said, untethering FISA from 3 other GOP bills opposed by Democrats. The path forward, however, is still under discussion, according to a second source familiar with the matter. The new plan does not mark a major shift in the approach to FISA 702 that pushed the 19 Republicans to buck leadership and vote against kicking off the debate. The FISA reform bill will include a vote on an amendment to add a warrant requirement to the law, something the 19 argue should be included in the base text. They pushed for an earlier Judiciary Committee written FISA bill to be the main legislative vehicle. But the change from a 5-year to a 2-year reauthorization could help pick up some FISA skeptics. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat Washington, who sits on the Judiciary Committee and has pushed for the warrant requirement, said the shorter time frame would allow lawmakers to reform the controversial policy sooner rather than later. Quote, I think probably to make sure we can continue to monitor and be able to come back for more reforms in 2 years, she said Thursday. Okay, I want to talk about this. I think you're right. I think MTG did vote for it, by the way. Let's talk about this for a few minutes. Now, if this is what Johnson and his whiz kids in the Speaker's office have come up with as a bright idea on how to get, Section 702 of FISA reauthorized, I can't see this working. And I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon-y, negative Nancy about this. I don't see this gets them anywhere. I mean, for the 19 Republicans who voted against this thing the other day, you've still got the same problem. It does not have, in the base text of this bill, a requirement that says, by God, you're going to do this, you're going to go get a warrant to do it. Okay? Hence is the problem. Now, for the Democrats' part, they've already said, hey, you Republicans, this one's on you, baby. You figure this one out because we ain't going to bail you out. And if you don't believe me, check this out from justthenews.com. Headline, Dems will not save Republicans on FISA bill, Jeffrey says. Reading further into the article and written by Ben Whedon, we have the following. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on Thursday indicated that the lower chamber Democrats will not help Republican leadership resuscitate a plan to extend the FISA Section 702 surveillance powers and that Speaker Mike Johnson had not sought his help in doing so. Quote, no and no, he said in response to queries on both prospects, the Washington Times reported. A group of 19 Republicans on Wednesday voted with Democrats in a procedural vote to block a Republican-led bill that would extend Section 702 for 5 years. The provision is slated to expire on April 19th. Okay, so the Democrats have said they're not helping out Johnson on this one, and frankly, I don't blame them. I mean, and they're doing and Hakeem Jeffries is doing this for various reasons. Okay, part of it might be principle. Maybe he has serious, privacy qualms with 702, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But there is the practical political consideration here, and that is, when my enemy is tripping over his own feet, I'm not going to lend him a hand to keep him from falling. And that's what Mike Johnson's doing here. Okay. I don't understand why it is Johnson is even bringing this thing up as currently constituted. But I think I found some information that I will pass on to you guys that might explain why he's doing what he's doing. Because basically he's reversed position. I mean, he was all in favor of, hey, you got to get this 702. You better have a warrant requirement in this thing. Well, now all of a sudden he's completely flipped positions on it and is basically taping up the deep state and intelligence community's perspective on this. They want 702 reauthorized. Screw this warrant requirement. Screw the right to privacy. Screw, the Bill of Rights. By God, we want our right to surveil, and daggone, you better just hurry up and reauthorize it. Yeah. Right? So, what the heck is going on here? Well, I found an article today from Breitbart, and this might begin to explain what's going on with Mike Johnson on this deal. Claims a classified briefing made him flip-flop on spy powers reform. Article by Sean Moran. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, on Wednesday explained his apparent flip-flop on a controversial surveillance law, saying that he now favors limited reforms after receiving a classified briefing. Oh boy. Speaker Johnson was asked by reporters why he changed his opinion on reforming Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, a controversial surveillance law that is meant to target foreign adversaries but often surveils American communications without a warrant. Johnson this week came out against a warrant requirement for 702 and moved not to allow an amendment that would have barred intelligence and law enforcement agencies from purchasing American private information through third-party data brokers. This is considered a run around the Fourth Amendment protection against warrantless search. Reading a little further, this amounts to a dramatic reversal since Johnson supported legislation to close the data broker loopholes in July of 2023, and the Louisiana congressman supported the USA Rights Act, which Freedom Works described as one of the strongest possible reforms of FISA. Johnson said his reversal came after receiving classified briefings on Section 702. He explained, quote, "When I was a member of the judiciary, I saw the abuses of the FBI, the terrible abuses over and over and over, and then I became speaker. I went to the SCIF and got the confidential briefing on sort of the other perspective on that to understand the necessity of 702 of FISA and how important it is for national security. It gave me a different perspective. That's part of the process. You have to be fully informed." Okay, I'm teeing off on this. Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, you were already informed. You sat on the Judiciary Committee. You said you saw the abuses of Section 702. You were all in favor of reforming the thing with a warrant requirement, and then here comes the deep state vis-a-vis the intelligence community. They get you in a room, and they're like, no. You better vote for this thing, and we don't want any kind of warrant requirement. Oh, for you linguini spine ninny. You chicken. I'm sorry. Am I saying I would have necessarily performed any better in that situation? I don't know, but I'll tell you this much. You're purported to be the Speaker of the House. You're supposed to be a leader for the entire nation. More importantly, you're supposed to be a leader for conservative principle, and you just chucked all that right out the window when they gave you one little lecture behind closed doors in a SCIF. TBA over on Rumble says he was informed his neck is now on the line and he's a cuck. You ain't wrong. Gypsy says he's definitely cucked. I ain't disagreeing with that one. I'm not. Classified briefing equals they got something on him and are blackmailing him with it. Well, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it's possible. Oh, goodness. Just unbelievable. Yeah. They showed it. Yeah, they showed him what they had on him. Now, can I prove that? No, I cannot. Would I be surprised to find out it's true? Nope, not the slightest. I mean, this election is consequential for so many different reasons, okay, on so many levels. But if we are going to get back to any kind of semblance of constitutionally limited government that protects the rights of the citizens, then by George, this is one of those deals. If let me put it this way, Mike Johnson, if you're listening to this, look, there are some fights, and I understand this. There's some places you pick your fight. Okay? There's some hills you die on, and there's some hills you're like, yeah, not today. Dude, this is the hill you die on. Think about what you're being asked to reauthorize. You're being asked to reauthorize warrantless surveillance of American citizens by their own countrymen in the name of national security. I mean, dude, you just sat there and said in the interview, hey, when I was on the Judiciary Committee, I saw all the abuses. You know, just unbelievable. Well, WWG1, I saw what you wrote over there, and you're right. I can't say that. Well, I could say it on the air, but yeah, yeah. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. And now, chicken shit, I think I can get away with saying, yeah, for sure. That is now, politically, where do I think this is going? This is one of those moments where, frankly, the deep state, as far as I'm concerned, is in a vice. Look, they know that 702 has got to be reauthorized. They know this. They've only got 8 days to do it. If I'm these 19 Republicans, I don't care what Johnson offers them. There's only one thing I'll accept. You better put a warrant requirement in 702. Period. End of discussion. Mic drop. Walk off the stage, or we're not doing it. I mean, I'm serious. Biggs, Boebert, Gates, all of you. If you're listening to this, you've got them in a vice. Don't let off the pressure. You've got them. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries has already said, we're not going to bail Johnson out on this one. So his Democrats are more or less there. Now, maybe Paul and a few others might be persuaded, but they'd have to bleed off a significant number of Democrats to get this thing across the finish line. I'm telling y'all, you 19 lovers of liberty out there, hold your ground, stand firm, link arms on this one, hold together because you got them. That's all you got to do for 8 days. Just hold together on this thing. If Johnson passes this thing without you guys, if he passes this without you, let the chips fall where they may. Would I want to see the House go through another, do I want to see the House go through another vote on a speakership? No, because frankly, even if you get rid of Johnson, this is what I said the other night, even if you get rid of Johnson, what are you going to replace him with? But then again, he's selling everybody out just about as bad as Kevin McCarthy did. What good was replacing him with Kevin McCarthy if all he's going to do is just be like Kevin McCarthy? Yeah. TBS says, don't get your hopes up, Brian. Give it 72 hours. Watch the Dems go vote yes and screw the. Yeah, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. So there's our update on what's going on with the fight over FISA. And it's right now shaping up to be a real good one. A really good one. So just thought I'd bring that one to you. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. But before we do, if you have not done it yet, smash the like button. I mean, absolutely blow that thing up. And if you haven't spread the word around social media, send out a tweet, a Gettr, a gab, whatever you got. Tell your friends, get on in here. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber to the channel, you wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if you gave me a sub on YouTube and on Rumble. Tell you what, I'm loving the growth of the channel, and we're like 2 subs away from 900. Just 2. Funny, it's a funny phenomenon right now. I get like at $8.99, it drops back 1. Get back to $8.99, it drops back. I'm like, oh my God. Will you finally just roll over 900 so I can like sleep at night? It's like, well, you're killing me here. Ugh. But then again, it's YouTube. So, I mean, YouTube is screwy. What are you going to do? But anyway, thank you guys for being here tonight. If you're just joining us, this is Chatting on the Porch. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Let us shift gears a little bit and talk some campaign stuff, because there's been a couple of interesting developments since we last got together on Tuesday. And I want to start with a 30-second video. And I'm sure you guys have seen this by now, but this kind of kicks off a discussion that's going on right now. And I want to get into this because this to me is fascinating. Now, you may have seen it, you may not. If you haven't, I'll tell you about it. So Donald Trump is down in Atlanta yesterday, and he stops by a local Chick-fil-A. Okay. Now that sets up the video. Do me a favor. This runs about 36 seconds. Do me a favor and check this out, and then we're going to start talking about it.
So can I have 30 milk jugs and also some chicken? I'm going to take care of the customers. Is business good? You're making a lot of money? Everyone getting rich, right? Thank you very much.
So I don't care what the media tells you, Mr. Trump. We support you.
We support you, man.
Okay, 4 p.m. We're here 4 p.m.
Come here, let me give you a...
Okay. Now, like I say, y'all probably seen this, but it sort of gives me a place to kick off a discussion, because there are some dynamics that are happening right now that even the mainstream media has got to sit up and take notice. And the fact that they're noticing it is causing them to break out in various forms of a cold sweat. Because what you saw is not an isolated event. This has been talked about now in media all over the place. And it's a fairly interesting thing. And that gets us to an article that I found today, late this afternoon, actually. There's a poll. It's out now. I'm not able to get my hands on it for various reasons, but I was able to find an article about it. And when you see some of the numbers in this poll and you see who it's coming from, it's going to shock you. This is from Breitbart. Wall Street Journal poll. Donald Trump nearly doubles support among black men and women since 2020. Let me read that again. Donald Trump nearly doubles support among black men and women since 2020. Now, wait a minute. How is this possible? I mean, everybody knows Donald Trump's a racist, or at least that's what he's called. I mean, people call Donald Trump, they call him a racist, they call him a bigot, they call him a misogynist, they call him, any number of things. They say he's for the rich. How is it and worse than that, Worse than all of that, he's an insurrectionist, don't you know? Or at least that's what they call him. How can Donald Trump possibly be getting even more support from minorities than he got in 2020? This makes no sense. Well, let's find out. Article written by the inestimable Wendell Husbo. 30% of black men and 11% of black women intend to vote for Donald Trump in 2024, Wall Street Journal polling found Thursday, which is a significant increase from 2020. Let me read those numbers again. 30% of black men and 11% of black women. Now, comparatively speaking, how big of an increase is that? Try this on for size. Only 12% of black men voted for Donald Trump in 2020, voting data shows. There is no comparable 2020 polling for black men. In 2020, 6% of black women said they would vote for Trump. The Associated Press polling found 5 points less than the 2024 polling. In more good news for Trump, 42% of black women remain up for grabs in 2024, the Journal survey showed. The poll sampled 218 registered voters between March 17th and March 24th with a 5.2% margin of error. Percy Jones, a black restaurant manager who lives in Atlanta, said he remembers Trump's time in office more warmly, especially regarding immigration. Quote, "He didn't allow people who don't live here to come in," Jones told the Journal. "They are taking all of our jobs." Biden's failure to secure the southern border could be an underlying factor for Trump's increased success among the black vote, Breitbart News' Neil Monroe reported. Many of those Americans are already recognizing their gradual displacement by hardworking Latino migrants in local jobs, homes, communities, and elections. In March, for example, black unemployment rate nudged up again to 6.4% as employers hired more of the southern migrants who are being bussed northwards by Biden's deputies and allies. NBCNewYork.com reported on April 5th, when accounting for gender, the unemployment rate for black women aged 20 or older spiked to 5.6%, a big increase from the 4.4 rate in February. Black men's jobless rates climbed slightly from 6.2 to 6.2 from 6.1. Federal data shows that average after-inflation household wages have stayed flat in Baltimore since Congress doubled migration in 1990. The share of local adults with jobs has plummeted from just under 70% in 1990 to 65% in 2023. Baltimore City is 62% black, but the incoming Latino population is being welcomed by local employers and Democrats. In a statement to the Journal, the Trump campaign touted their message to both black and Latino communities. Quote, "Our coalition message to black and Hispanic communities is simple. If you want strong borders, safe neighborhoods, rising wages, quality jobs, school choice, and the return of the strongest economy in over 60 years, then vote for Donald Trump." Okay. Like I said, this is not isolated. There is poll after poll after poll after poll that is showing the same exact thing. The normal base of the Democrat Party, women, African Americans, Hispanics, white, non-college educated, that coalition is splintering and Trump is starting to gobble it up. Not necessarily huge amounts, okay? But he's starting to eat into it. A little more each time. And now keep in mind too, we are 7 months away, just a little under 7 months away from the election, okay? Anything could happen. All right? But there is a big problem for Biden, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Let me show you guys something else talking about Latinos, since Trump and his people brought it up. Oh, you're good, love. You're good. Don't worry about it, love. You're all right. You're all right. TBA over on Rumble says, and the Wall Streeters threw Biden under the bus with the CPI numbers. We're going to get into that. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Anyway, this is from Axios, talking about Latinos. Latino support for border wall and deportations jump. What? Wait a minute. I thought Donald Trump was a racist. I thought that he was mean to Hispanic people. Oh, and now you're trying to tell me that Hispanics in America are supporting a border wall? You're trying to tell me that they're supporting deportations? What the heck is this? Let's find out. Article written by Russell Contreras, we have the following. The percentage of Latinos who say they support building a border wall and deporting all undocumented immigrants has jumped by at least 10 points since 2021, according to the latest Axios Ipsos Latino poll in partnership with Noticias. Well, I'm from West Virginia, so if I can't speak Spanish, forgive me. Okay, there we go. Noticias Telemundo. The findings suggest former President Trump's calls for more border security and perhaps his anti-immigrant rhetoric are registering even among people who may have ties to immigration. The findings also reflect the frustration that has made illegal immigration a top election year issue for many Americans and shed light on Republicans' recent inroads among Latinos. The poll arrives as Trump's racist criticisms of immigrants, they're not racist, are raising concerns about violence during the 2024 campaign. Oh, God, that's rich. That is absolutely rich. Trump has promised to set up border security if he returns to the White House and plans mass deportations that he says could involve 1 million people. Excuse me, it better involve more than that. Given the numbers that Joe Biden's let in, it better involve more than 1 million if you're going to do this. We continue. Biden, after taking a political beating over border security, now says he'd be willing to close the border amid surges in the number of border crossers. 42% of Latino adults surveyed said they support building a wall or a fence along the entire U.S.-Mexico border. That's a 12% jump from December 2021. 38% support sending all undocumented immigrants in the U.S. back to the country of origin, up from 28% in 2021. In addition, 64% of Latinos said they support giving the president the authority to shut down U.S. borders if there are too many immigrants trying to enter the country. It was the first time the survey asked this question. Now, I bet you there was a shock to everybody's system. Support for building a wall was strongest among Cuban Americans, 58%, who generally are more conservative than many other Latinos and have benefited from decades of Cold War era, quote, special treatment on immigration. Support for a border wall is lowest among Mexican immigrants, and among Mexican Americans, 37%. Only 43% of Central Americans support the wall. Immigration is the third highest concern among Latinos in the election year, the poll found, behind inflation and crime. Y'all hold that thought for a second, because I want to come back to that. Despite the rising number of Latinos who say anyone in the U.S. illegally should be deported, a strong majority still favor providing them a path to U.S. citizenship rather than deportation. Okay, I might understand that. 59% support allowing refugees fleeing crime and violence in Latin America to claim asylum in the U.S. Okay, all right. Let's get into this. You got support among African-American men going up. You got support among African-American women going up. You got support among Latinos going up. Folks, and you'll notice something. This poll that was done among Latinos, the three biggest issues: inflation, crime, immigration. I would almost bet you, if you get into the guts of any poll that's being done right now, for African Americans, it's the same thing. And what are you hearing? What are you hearing? Yeah. Inflation, crime, invasion. Top 3 reasons why to vote for Trump. He's the only one that can say. That's what a lot of people are coming to that same conclusion, TBA. They're coming to that same conclusion. I've said this for a little while now among friends of mine, and I've heard other commentators saying the same thing. There is the potential for a political realignment in this country. For the longest time, the coalition that makes up the Democrat Party, and it's real easy to identify: women, African Americans, Latinos, non-college age white working class. That has been the heart of the Democrat Party for years. Everybody is looking at it and they're realizing the Democrat Party is not representing me anymore. Oh, come on, man. The Democrat Party is for this issue and that issue, which we'll get into that in a minute. Hang on, because I got some news about that. But you've got, with this election, the purest contrast you're ever going to get. Because normally with an election, you get, okay, here's the incumbent, and here's the challenger. And with the incumbent, you know what their record is, but the challenger can't say, well, here's my record. They can say, here are my ideas. This is why I should become the incumbent if in the next election. In this election, however, you have 2 presidents, one current, one his immediate predecessor. You have 2 4-year periods as a voter to gauge how you want to vote. Now, for all the Democrats' efforts to cloud the issue with abortion, with Donald Trump's character, with his supposed crimes for which he is on trial in 4 different venues around the country, you boil it all down, this election is going to come down to one simple question: who am I better off under economically? Because, we can have all kinds of discussions in this country about this policy or that idea or this philosophical consideration, but in the end, people are going to vote on their pocketbook and to some degree foreign policy. But this is going to be an election about domestic politics. And I'm sorry, if you're the Democrat incumbent, Joe Biden, and you have let upwards of about 9 million people cross the border in almost 4 years to go all throughout the country, and in doing so, cause citizens of the United States to lose economic opportunity and to see their wages decreased and to see more crime in your neighborhoods and to see all kinds of problems that come along with unfettered, uncontrolled, letting anybody cross the border. And then on top of that, you couple that with economic policies that make going to the grocery store, going to the gas station more costly. I don't care if you're white, if you're black, if you're brown, or if you're purple with polka dots. You can't tell me that a rational person is going to look at those 2 records of those 2 men and come to the conclusion, oh yeah, I want more of what I got currently because I just love it so much. There's a reason why African Americans are identifying with Trump and they're willing to vote for him. They think they've got a chance to get ahead, not just individually, but for their community. Same thing with Hispanics. Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is going to win a majority of the African American vote come November. Okay? I'm not saying he's going to win a majority of Hispanics come November. But he's going to chew into enough of that normal base of the Democrat vote that there are states that are going to be up for grabs that people normally would never give a second thought to. We talked about this the other day on Tuesday's session of Chatting on the Porch. There's a poll out of Minnesota that Biden only has a 2-point lead on Donald Trump. 2 points. I saw a poll, it's about 3 weeks ago now, out of New Jersey, that Biden is only up by 7 points, and that was a state he won by almost 20 4 years ago. In Virginia, it's like anywhere from 4 to 6 points. Biden's lead. Biden won Virginia by 10. Now, are all of these states just going to flip over to Donald Trump? No, I don't think so. But Biden's got a lot of stuff to have to defend. Matter of fact, up in Connecticut brings up this. National Dems are pouring money into my district. They've already dropped in $4 million. Now, this is in the state of Connecticut. This is about as Democrat as it gets. They're scared to death for a reason. Blacks are fleeing the south of the Carolinas, and now a third Hispanic are very conservative. And I'm telling you, and I say this respectfully, I don't think I'm too far afield here, but there's a golden opportunity in the years ahead if the Republicans actually start investing some money and they be smart about it. They could start flipping certain states in New England Republican. It might take them a few cycles to do it, but it could be done. It could be done. I'm just, I just look around. I'm seeing certain things. I'm sitting here asking myself, is this thing really what I'm being told? I think it was, I forget if it was TBA or WWG1 or Gypsy over on Rumble said, yeah, we're all being gaslit. I absolutely agree with that, especially when it comes to this election. Now, like I said, it is less than 7 months to go. Anything could happen. These things could turn on a dime, but the trend line is already there. You can see it happening. Okay. Matter of fact, I've got an article here. Oh, let me find it. Oh, well, hang on. Before I get to that one, I got to show you this. Check this out. Talking about Hispanics. More and more voters identify as Republican, including Hispanics. This is an article by John Nolte at Breitbart. With a few short-lived exceptions during the Reagan-Bush era, and after 9/11, more registered voters have identified as Democrat than Republican. In fact, since 2003, more than 20 years already, Democrats have consistently outnumbered Republicans, sometimes as much as 10 points. What a difference 4 years of Joe Biden makes. Per the New York Times, in the run-up to the 2020 election, more voters across the country identify as Democrats than Republicans. But 4 years into Joseph Biden's presidency, that gap has shrunk. And the United States now sits almost evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans. Currently, Party ID sits at 49% for Democrats, 48% for Republicans, and Pew points out that Democrats' advantage among blacks and Hispanics in particular has narrowed in recent years. Folks, I'm telling you, I'm not saying don't hear what they're saying, but don't necessarily listen to what the media is saying. I'm telling you, there's something afoot here. Northern Virginia is unrecognizable now. You would not think you were in the U.S. if you just go to the store. But even in those naturally Democrat areas, they're feeling the pain of what is exactly. There's an old joke, and y'all have probably heard it, okay? A woman comes home early one day and finds her husband in bed with another woman. And as the aggrieved wife starts to say something, the husband looks at her and says, "Now, honey, are you going to believe what I tell you or what you see with your lying eyes?" Well, I got news for the Democrat Party and for the mainstream media and a whole bunch of y'all out there, you gaslighters. The American people are prepared to believe what they see with their lying eyes, and not just what they see, what they experience. Okay? How many people are going to the grocery store, and every time you go, you're paying more and more? I will give you an example in my own life. Okay? There is a near my office, there is a particular company that owns an ice cream shop. Okay? This ice cream shop has been in my area for decades, and they opened up a second place right near my place of employment. And they make a fabulous, fabulous chocolate milkshake. I love it. Okay? And it's really good. It's a specialized kind. They put like Hershey syrup in it, really good chocolate ice cream, etc. And it's the cup is about as tall as this protein shaker. Okay? Take a guess at what the price of that milkshake is today. You drop it in chat. I'll give y'all a few seconds to do it. Drop it in chat and let me know what you think the price of a chocolate milkshake in a glass about as big as this protein shaker, maybe a little bit less, maybe just a little bit smaller than that, a little more narrow. Okay. I've got $20 over on Rumble from TBA. I got $20 on YouTube from Christ Brings a Sword. I got Gypsies in for 18. Connecticut's in for 10. Connecticut, you're close. $8. $8 for a chocolate milkshake. Just about that big. About from here to here. $8. And that's not the biggest size. Yeah, just for the milkshake. Just for the milkshake. Just for the milkshake. $8. And the next size up is the large, and it's 10. Don't tell me that inflation is under control, you gaslighting gas bags in Washington, D.C. I don't want to hear it. Not because I'm a contrarian. I'm telling you the real life experience that I live, that you live, that millions of people across this country live every day. We're living this every day. We can see it for ourselves, and we know what inflation's doing. Oh, but it's coming down under Biden, don't you know? Hold that thought. We're going to get to that. How nervous are the Democrats right now for what's going on? Let me show you a quote. This is from thehill.com. Headline: Democrat nervous, Trump wooing centrists from Biden. Article written by Amy Parnes. And this line is just, Democrats are... you flipped around on me here. Hang on. Yeah, come on, stop it. Okay, here we go. Democrats are growing increasingly nervous that former President Trump will woo centrist voters away from President Biden. They say Trump, after securing the GOP primary, is now taking steps that could help him win support from the broad middle of the country. The best example of the president's former decision to not back a 15-week ban on abortion and instead say the issue should be left up to the states. Clearly the move a candidate with his mind trained on the middle of the electorate. Quote, if the election were held today, Trump would win, and that means he's winning moderates as we speak. One Democrat strategist said. Let me find that other quote, and I absolutely love this one. Yeah, here it is. The thing that's most alarming is that people know this guy, and even though they're turned off by him, they're willing to accept his flaws because they think he's handled the issues better than Biden has. And Trump has to make the election about the economy and immigration, and if he does that effectively, he wins. They're terrified, folks. I'm telling you right now, Democrats are absolutely terrified. Went up due to bird flu and egg shortages. Will they just go away if they lose? Every other president has gone. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Let's get into that for a second. Biden will go away. The Democrats who run the White House and who make up the intelligentsia of the Democrat Party and who are dug into the deep state, they're not going away. They're going to do, or they're going to try to do, in 2025 what they did in 2017. They just kind of slunk back into the shadows, as it were. They're not going away. They're going to try and wait Donald Trump out. They'll wait him out. They'll go into the recesses of the State Department, the Justice Department, the Department of Defense, the Department of Education, all the places where they are dug in. And they'll try and wait him out. Presidents come and go. The bureaucracy goes on forever, which is why what happens, and if Trump does get back in, if he wins this election, it is critical. It is absolutely critical that we start reforming institutions in this country. Okay? That is why it is imperative to start whittling down the size of the number of people who work in these agencies, consolidating offices and shrinking as much as possible the size of government, and then whatever is left, get it out of D.C. Just ship it out to different parts of the country. Because if the pandemic taught us any one thing, is that you don't need to have people centralized in one building to be effective in getting your work done. That's the blessing of the internet. Okay? Now, would there have to be some form of offices in D.C.? Sure. I don't dispute that. But the overwhelming majority of the workforce, that doesn't need to be in D.C. You can have that around the country. Not only do we need to shrink the size of the federal workforce, I am all for wholesale shutting down certain things. FBI is one of them. Now, maybe not the criminal investigation stuff. Okay, the crime lab, the stuff like that, I can handle that. Got no problem with that at all. But the FBI, it's time to put that bad boy down. Over on Rumble, TBA asks, isn't that what Trump started doing, Brian? Removing big sections of DC bureaucracy? Yeah, he was starting to do that. He was on his way. As a matter of fact, he finally had a director of OMB and a chief of staff in Mark Meadows and a few other people. They were finally getting the right people in the right places. That had the second term occurred starting in 2021. Oh yeah, this thing would start humming real good. Really good. So yeah, it's time to just take them down. FBI needs to be the fangs need to be taken off of that snake. State Department, Pentagon, etc. Now, I'm not talking about essential functions of the federal government. Cool. But we need to we are long overdue for what essential functions looks like. IRS is another one. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I don't like hyping a federal election. I've had it for so many years, and y'all have heard me say this. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. Okay. Whatever. Give it a rest. This one, yeah. I think we're out of mulligans. I think we're out of the ability to, screw something up and then come back from it. This one feels different. At least to me anyway. I don't know about you guys, but it feels different. It really does. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably more nervous about this one than I've been in a long time. And again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here. I'm really not. This one scares me. This one scares me. We've run out of road that we can kick the can down. Yeah, TBA, I think you're right. The Fed, I agree with you, WWG1. The Feds have way too much power. Way too much. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's shift gears a little bit, see if I can get us out of the slide here. It's about 8:00 Eastern. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This is Chatting on the Porch. We're talking about some items in the news and giving some thoughts about the whole thing, getting y'all's feedback on it, and loving every minute of it. We've got Leanne's here, our resident bartender. We've got TBA over on Rumble, WWG1. We got Gypsy. She's floating back and forth between Rumble and YouTube. Christ brings the sword. Got Dave's here. Bunch of people up in Connecticut. Ruben's in the house. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Let's see who else is here that I haven't said hello to yet. I think that about Z Highness is here. Love you, darling. 199. Oh, I wish I were out in Vegas right now. I really do. Bunch of good content creators hanging around out there. I'd love to be in Vegas, and I've never been to Vegas actually. That would be a kick. That would really be a kick for somebody like me. Of course, I'd probably have to find a tuxedo and kind of give it the old Sands Hotel routine. Walk around looking like Sinatra. A melted ice cream version of Sinatra, but you get the point. Anyway, let's shift gears a little bit. And yeah, no, I've never been to Vegas. Never have been to Vegas. It's one of my bucket list items in life. So there you go. So as y'all are fully aware, the other day, the Arizona State Supreme Court hands down a decision that upholds the 1864 territorial law that says you could get, if you're a doctor and you perform an abortion in Arizona, you could get 2 to 5 years in prison. And the only exception for you being able to perform an abortion is if the life of the mother is in danger. And oh my Lord, did the Democrats jump on that bandwagon? Woo! Whew. You know, I thought they're going to go out and hang out on a tailgate on a Saturday night out in the country. Maybe jumped on that pickup truck. Now I want to get into some of the politics of what's going on this issue of abortion, and then I want to pose a idea to you guys. And the idea is this. I don't know that this is going to be the blessing the Democrats think it's going to be. Let's go to Politico. And Politico just jumped all over this thing. Trump and the GOP scramble to contain abortion earthquake. The 1-2 punch from Florida and Arizona left Republicans reeling across the electoral map. Adam Wren, Kimberly Leonard, and Madison Fernandez. First came the Florida State Supreme Court decision allowing a 6-week abortion ban to go forward. Then it was Arizona's Supreme Court bombshell restoring the 1864 law, effectively banning all abortions. They didn't restore it. It was already on the books. Not long after Donald Trump said the issue should be left to the states, the GOP was reeling Wednesday from the fallout. acknowledging vulnerabilities on the twin issues of abortion and in vitro fertilization virtually all across the map. Even Trump conceded Wednesday the two rulings posed problems for the party, telling reporters in Atlanta that the Arizona decision went too far. Quote, Florida is probably going to change. Arizona is definitely going to change. Everybody wants that to happen. Later at a Chick-fil-A, Trump would not take a definitive position when asked whether physicians should be punished for administering abortions. Now, yeah, and you bring up a good point. We're going to get to this. Hang on. We're going to get to this. Because I can see where y'all are going, and I tend to agree with you, but we'll get to it. Good evening, Professor. Glad to have you here in the house. Always good to see Mr. Christian Watson. If y'all are not subscribed to his channel, do me a favor, give that good man a sub. One of the smartest commentators in the whole of social media, and just genuinely a good guy. Really good guy. So you got the Democrats you got the mainstream press. Oh my God, 1864. What kind of draconian medieval nightmare dystopia have we gone back to that they're a territorial law, no less? Oh my God. Okay. So that's the press. The Democrats, of course, wasted no time on this. Check this out. Biden campaign plans to pummel Trump on abortion. Article by Adam Cancern, Elena Schneider, Jennifer Haberkorn. Joe Biden's campaign plans to hammer Donald Trump for his role in erasing abortion rights largely by enlisting ordinary American women who have suffered from restrictions on the procedure, elevating their voices in place of the president's own. This approach was immediately on display this week in a Biden campaign video featuring a story of a Texas woman released after Trump announced he would defer state-level abortion laws, some which impose draconian limits on women and physicians. Biden himself made no appearance in the ad except to deliver a standard campaign finance disclosure line. The strategy represents a kind of concession that Biden, with a complicated history on the issue and a reluctance to even say the word abortion, may not be the most resonant messenger on the issue for many voters, and that spotlighting regular people has the potential to reach those who may not start out sympathetic to the president's campaign. The conflicted message is the fact he used to be pro-life. May I remind everybody, okay? Joe Biden used to be pro-life. Probably not as strident as some people these days, but he was definitely pro-life. Then he switched his position. So yeah, matter of fact, I read where was it I read this? Was it Breitbart or was it thehill.com? One of the two. That Biden's going to spend $7 million in Arizona just beating the crap out of Donald Trump on the question of abortion. Okay? TBA over on Rumble says, in responding to WWG1, they are trying to rally the troops. Won't work this time because the troops' wallets are empty from inflation. I have said before, I'll say it again. I've got the smartest audience on the internet. You guys are already ahead of me, but I don't care. That's great. And let's talk about this. And TBA, you're absolutely right. This is nothing more than good old-fashioned rally the troops. Now, I have a question for y'all. And I want your opinion on this. Does anybody really think that anybody is going to come out and vote for Joe Biden more now because of what Arizona did with this Supreme Court decision or what Florida did on this whole 6-week ban? Does anybody really think that Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are going to wring any more votes out of states than they would have otherwise gotten had these things on abortion not come down in the past 10 days? For my part, I say no. Gypsy, I agree with you completely on this. I agree completely. I don't think he's going to get that much more traction out of this. I really don't. He's trying to gin up emotion. The problem is This election, and I absolutely stand on this, I will die on this hill. This election is not going to be about abortion. Exactly. It's not going to work. And I'm not just saying that going, la, 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 in the absence of reality. I'm sorry. Go through any poll that's coming out these days and ask yourself this question. What are the top 5 issues? And you're not going to see abortion in the top 5. Southern border, immigration, inflation, the economy, crime. In some difference of order, perhaps, but those 5 right there, there's your top 5. Notice abortion is not going to be in that list. TBA says economy. Yep. And and let me show you how tone deaf. Right now the Democrats are, as far as what's going on, the effect of their own policies. So the other day on Morning Joe on MSNBC, the Honorable James Clyburn, Democrat from South Carolina, the former House whip for the Democrats, was on with Mika and Morning Joe and the rest of that crowd. And they got on the question of the American people's perception with regard to inflation. Now, Clyburn's answer runs about maybe a little over a minute. We'll stop it at certain places, but I want you guys to hear this because, I give the Democrats this. They are consistent in their gaslighting. Okay? Honey, are you going to believe what I tell you or what you see with your lying eyes? Ignore the half-naked woman in bed with me over here that I'm fooling around with you on, and you just walked in and saw me doing it or caught me in bed with her, okay? You just ignore her. Just believe what I tell you. This is about what James Clyburn's doing here, okay? So do me a favor. Check this out. So Mika sets him up and says, what can be done here to change people's perceptions? Here's Clyburn's answer.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I think that we have to focus on people's everyday lives. And 401ks are not about people's everyday lives.
Now that I'll agree with Clyburn. He is right there, and I'll give him that point. Because Biden is trying to do, in one sense, what Trump did. Trump would always tout a healthy and robust Dow Jones, the stock market, everything else. But there's one difference between what Trump was doing and what Biden's doing. Biden's trying to tout 401ks and the Dow Jones Industrial Average in the absence of an underlying strong economy that makes sense. Right now, you got I would consider it to be anyway, an inflated Dow Jones with no underlying economics that back it up. But I give Clyburn that. I'll give him that point. Let's continue.
And I do believe, just from my own observations, from the conversations I've had with people, there are concern about things like inflation. But what we've got to get them to see is that inflation today is about 40% of what it was when Joe Biden took office.
What? Huh? Did y'all know that inflation is now 40% less than when Joe Biden? Did y'all know that? Be safe, darling. Be safe. Love you. Anyway, let's get back to this because this just, when y'all hear the rest of this is gonna blow your mind. Check this out.
And so the inflation rates are down, and people's incomes are up.
Oh God! I can't wait. All right, let's go.
Employment is on the decrease. And although we see the prices at the stores costing more money, people are in fact earning greater incomes. So
remember what he just said, folks, and hold on to that. Prices are up at the grocery store, but people are earning more income. Y'all hold on to that because we're about to blow that right out of the water.
what we've got to do is make sure that people see the policies of the Biden administration, how they affect their everyday lives, and get them to see in his policies that which is real, not what they may hear on social media. One of the focus group people talked about social media and the misrepresentation, disinformation, all of those things are out there, and that's the battle that we have to fight, and we've got to do a better job of fighting it more effectively.
Okay, did you guys catch what he just said? The reason that people think that inflation is a problem is because of disinformation on social media. As we say where I come from, what? You heard him. You heard him. Apparently, you and I don't have the brains to figure out for ourselves that it's government spending that causes inflation. No, it's because of, we think there's inflation because of social media. Woo! Now, the other line that just absolutely blew my mind is, people go to the grocery store and they see that things are costing more, but that's okay. They've got more income to be able to pay for it. That's a great question. That is an absolutely great question. I am telling you, I have got the smartest audience on the internet. Good Lord, why we do not have 1 million subscribers, I don't know, because this is the place where very smart people hang out. That's a great question. Who do I call it for my misinformation on my credit card? Okay, let's put this thing to bed. Okay, so we've all got more money to pay for those higher priced items at the grocery store, right? Right? Okay, all right. This is from Axios. Bad news on inflation. Article written by Hans Nichols. We have the following. Last week, Joe Biden got the jobs report he wanted. Today, he got the inflation numbers he didn't. Inflation is rearing its ugly head again. I'm sorry, it's not rearing it again. It's always been here. And it's a nightmare for Biden on several fronts. Stubbornly high prices undercut his argument that the economy is much better and that Americans are willing to admit, or at least tell pollsters. Driving the news, the CPI rose 0.4% in March. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Wednesday, coming in hotter than expected. More troubling for the White House, the core measure, which excludes food and energy prices, and why it does that, I have no idea, because that's what we all spend our money on, rose at an annualized pace of 4.5% in the last 3 months. That suggests inflation isn't just high, it's stubborn. Financial markets staged their own little protest, a sell-off on the bond and equity markets. The CPI numbers forced Biden to acknowledge that the Fed isn't likely to cut rates at their next meeting. Quote, this may delay it a month or so. I'm not sure of that. We don't know what the Fed is going to do for certain, Biden said when he was asked about it during his press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. He reaffirmed his prediction made last month that the Fed will cut rates before the end of the year. Quote, look, we have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to close to 3%. That's a load of hooey. We're still better situated than where we were when we took office, when inflation was skyrocketing. Hold that thought. He's gaslighting you, folks. He's absolutely gaslighting you. Reality check. The annual inflation rate was 1.4% when Biden took office in January 2021. Okay. Guys, it's so bad for the Democrats, the press won't even cover him on this one. And if you don't believe me, check this out. This is from Breitbart. Biden blames inflation on Trump. You read the headline correctly. You read it right. Yeah, and you're right, Gypsy. We need a stronger word than gaslighting. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to turn you guys loose on that little project. I need somebody to come up with a term for when someone is lying flat out to me other than gaslighting. Gaslighting is just not going to do it. But I agree with you. But anyway, this is from Breitbart. Joe Biden claimed Wednesday that inflation was skyrocketing when he took office. Look, this is a quote. Look, we have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to 3%, where we were in a situation where we were better situated than when we took office, where inflation was skyrocketing. Verdict. False. Inflation was not skyrocketing when Biden took office. When Biden took the oath on January 2021, the consumer price index was 1.4%. The following month in February was 1.7%. Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, the measure used by the Federal Reserve as a basis for its 2% inflation target, was up 1.6% in January, 1.8% in February. Inflation did not rise above the Fed's target until March of 2021, when Biden signed into law the American Rescue Act and injected $1.9 trillion of stimulus into the economy. At the time, even economists allied with Democrats like Larry Summers and Oliver Blanchard warned that pushing that much deficit spending into an economy already recovering from pandemic lockdowns was likely to push inflation higher. The Consumer Price Index is up 18.94% since Biden took office, meaning inflation has averaged over 6% per year, or 3 times the federal target. During the equivalent period of Trump's presidency, inflation rose 5.96% per year, less than 2% a year on average. WWG1 says it's time to call for an appearance from Dr. McCutcheon. She has some insights about the economy. Don't worry, the doc is going to be called in. It's about time we hear from the good lady. Matter of fact, I'll probably be sending her an email this weekend because yeah, I think it's absolutely time for the doc to come in. TBA says I'm not a fan of Larry Summers, but I agree with you. I agree with you, TBA. Larry Summers may be a Democrat, but at least he's honest on economics. I remember this specifically. He warned Biden. He warned the Democrats who were in control of the House and Senate at the time, don't do this. The economy is humming along just fine. We're coming out of it. You do this, you're going to run the risk of inflation. And by George, that is exactly what they did. So, all that sort of begs the question. What do voters think of Biden right now? I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but I tell you what, if the attitudes reflected by these people continue on all the way to November, Biden's goose is cooked. I want to play you a clip from Morning Joe. They had a group of undecided voters. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but let me tell you something. If you haven't, you need to. I'm going to play this. I'm going to let it run. I'll stop it if I think I need to at certain points. But you guys need to hear this. So the next time someone tells you, oh, the economy's great, the American people love Joe Biden, they think he's awesome, they realize how great a job he's doing. The next time some Democrat politician tries to give you that load of horse manure, find this clip. Matter of fact, it was Benny Johnson put this out 2 days ago. Well, no, yesterday. I'm sorry, it was yesterday. This is a clip from Morning Joe Take a listen to this.
I want to show two more. The undecided voters were also asked how they think President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
I agree.
Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your...
Now, the gentleman up in the upper left-hand corner, if I remember correctly, is Mark Halperin. Okay.
Family, personally. Raise your hand. All right, so that is...
I agree.
Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family, personally.
There are 8 individual undecided voters in that group. The question was asked, raise your hand if you think President Trump's economic policies would make things better for your family. Of the 8 individuals, 7 of them raised their hand. Men, women, blacks, whites, didn't matter. 7 of the 8 of them said, yep, Trump's policies were better. Let's continue.
Raise your hand. All right, so that is everybody.
All right.
President Biden,
I stand correct. All of them.
Biden argues that his economic record has been very good. He said President Trump's was not as good. What are you keying off of, Sean? Since you had the best smile and Virginia the second best smile, what are you keying off of to say President Trump's economic policies would be better for you?
My past performance of my 401k. I know it was post 2020 and everything kind of flipped around, but you can't blame everything on 2020 for forever.
We have areas here in Pennsylvania where it's just at a standstill right now. Like things are supposed to be being built and the interest rates are just way too high for people to invest and start moving around.
And Virginia, just staying with you because Pennsylvania is near and dear to Joe Biden's heart. Are there Biden policies that you would blame for the problem? And if so, what are they?
The interest rate is so high right now. And I know they're trying to cut the inflation down, but like if nobody is building, no businesses are really coming to Pennsylvania right now to keep us moving forward.
Even if you're trying to buy a house, because I'm trying to become a first-time home buyer, the prices are so high right now. It's just hard.
Inflation, interest rates. Are y'all hearing a common theme?
Is there anything Joe Biden could do or say between now and the time you vote that would make you feel differently about feeling that his policies would not be as good for your family on the economy? Or are you pretty much decided that Trump's policies would be better for the economy?
I mean, I feel like he doesn't even take accountability for what's going on in the economy. Not even accountability. Like he's in denial that it's happening.
The point is Biden needs to hear the people, because when he's talking about the economy doing stellar, he's talking about the stock market. He's not looking at homelessness or joblessness. He's not, at Hagee's point, thinking about how much it costs to go to the grocery store. And he's gaslighting literally everyone in the process.
And Omar, you voted for Joe Biden last time, right?
Yeah.
Some really important and hard insights for the Biden campaign to hear there. And hearing all that, you might think things are pretty bad for President Biden. That was not good.
Mika, you have a gift for understatement, my dear. None of that is just bad. It's atrocious. I mean, did you guys hear the common themes running throughout those undecided voters? And keep in mind, some of these people admitted they voted for Joe Biden in 2020. High interest rates, inflation, the cost of the grocery store. Bryce, I didn't get a chance to say hello to you earlier, and I apologize. Welcome to the porch. Average home price is now $400,000, and the interest rates are high. And if you're a young family just starting out, it's tough. It's real hard, and there's just no getting around that. I mean, I'm not trying to be, Old Testament doom and gloom here, but let's be honest about it. It's true. It genuinely is. But did you hear the common themes of those undecided voters? Interest rates, the economy, the price of going to the grocery store. He has no accountability to the people. All 8 of those individuals flat out said Donald Trump's economic policies will be better for me and my family. To a man and woman, unanimously. And keep in mind, those folks are spread out among Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. campaigns can turn on a dime. I get that. But there are trends that set up. And Mark Halpern asked the question, is there anything Joe Biden could do between then and now or say to you that would change your mind about his economic policies? I didn't hear anybody say, oh, yeah, if Joe Biden said this and this and this and this, baby, no. I can't speak for every undecided voter or every independent out there, but that bunch right there, they're locked in, baby. They're locked in. Now, Christian, I've got some old political buddies of mine up in PA, aside from you and Brent and a bunch of other people that I've met more recently. And I need to put a phone call in, because I'm telling you right now, guys, I'm not saying this election is not going to be close as the popular vote or even the electoral college goes in each state, but the trend line's already there. It's setting up. And I don't even know, and this is something else to keep an eye on too. And I'm going to try and get into this Saturday morning if I remember to do it, because somebody did a video the other day of a person working for the Fed and the discussions that they had about Donald Trump and current Fed policy. Woo! I don't know. And the reason I bring that up, Biden's counting on a rate cut by the Fed, yada, yada, yada. I don't know that a rate cut even helps him right now. I mean, if this were the first 18 months of the administration and you had some rate cuts by the Fed and these situations were going on, like let's just give Biden this much. Okay. Let's just assume that he were actually correct as opposed to being the senile old gas bag that he is. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Let's assume that Joe Biden were actually correct. And he came into a situation with already high inflation. Okay. And in the first 18 months, he somehow persuaded the Federal Reserve Board in one form or another to go along with some rate cuts. Okay. It might change the perception of voters. Might. Well, Leah, I'm trying, bless my heart, because, I'm just such a shy, retiring wallflower when it comes to giving my opinion. But I appreciate the advice. Let's assume for a moment that he actually persuaded the Fed to cut rates, and it was the first 18 months. Okay, by the time it gets to the election, you might have the ability to persuade the voters, okay, things are getting better. I think we're going to turn it around. I'm willing to stick with this guy. The problem for Biden is he came in, enacted horrible economic policy, horrible policy on the border. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. And Biden's trying to convince everybody, hey, we're forgiving student debt over here. Hey, inflation's coming down over there. Hey, I think I can shut down the border. I think I've got the authority. It's too late. It's too late. The perceptions are setting in. There are Democrat operatives out there, very smart people, okay? People that understand the mechanics of elections, and they're coming to the conclusion on their own. Dude, if this election were today, Donald Trump would win. If it were 6 months from now, he'd win even bigger. I just don't know what Joe Biden does to change everybody's mind, except Trump's a bad guy. He's going to get convicted in court. He's had an affair with a porn star, which, by the way, she's now saying she didn't. Stormy Daniels, by the way, that was a letter from like 3 years ago. Said, no, never had an affair with him. We can get into that on Saturday. I don't know if you're Joe Biden, what do you do here? What do you do that changes everybody's mind? I just don't see it. And I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I just don't know what you do. I mean, if perceptions are like wet cement, okay, the cement that forms the foundation of this election is already setting up. It's getting harder and harder with every passing day. The perceptions are getting locked in people's minds. And if you're wondering what's reinforcing it, just talk to them after they come out of the grocery store. Just talk to them after they write a check for their utilities. Just talk to them after they go to the gas station. Just talk to them anywhere where they have to spend money. And I'm telling you, I don't think there's much Joe Biden can do to change people's minds. Yeah, good point. Cry, baby, cry. You got that right. You know, not only is Joe Biden's guitar gently weeping, every other instrument in the band is gently weeping at this point. This is how bad it's getting for him. And Connecticut, this is a real good point. There are just a couple of groups of people that Joe Biden's actually doing real well with in most polls, and it's surprising. One of them are older voters, and the other are young, college-educated. They're doing real well for Joe Biden in terms of polling. But every other demographic group, I'm not saying everybody is automatically just flip the switch and they're voting for Trump, but Biden is bleeding votes in every normal demographic that makes up the Democrat base vote. That if this goes down in 7 months, the way these polls are talking, I'm telling y'all, Trump could not only flip the Great Lakes, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, he could put states in play that nobody's even thinking about right now. And I still stand by my prediction. Biden loses Minnesota. He's going to lose it over the Hamas-Israel war. I stand by that prediction. Now, if I'm wrong, I said it before and I'll say it again. I'll come back here in a minute that I was wrong, but I'm dying on that hill. Biden is losing to Minnesota. You watch. So I say all this to and I'll wrap it up on this point. You know, for those moments out there when you're feeling discouraged about how things are going in the country at the national level and you wonder if there's any hope, keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. Not everything is as it seems. When you're looking at the emperor as he's walking by and everyone else is saying to you, my goodness, isn't that a wonderful suit of clothes that the emperor is wearing? You can, in your intelligence and your independence, stand up and say, suit of clothes? Hell no, he's naked as Jaybird. This emperor is naked. He is not wearing a fancy suit of clothes. At a minimum, he's got rags on. Truth of the reality is he's naked as Jaybird. And I agree with what somebody said over on Rumble. The American people are waking up and seeing it. WWG1 says, almost time for me to go to bed. Wrap it up. Yes, it's all about... You mean to tell I give you that brilliant political soliloquy and you're like, will you wrap it up? I gotta go to bed. All right, fine. I'll wrap it up. Jeez, what a crowd with friends like this. Anyway, it's about 8:45 on Thursday night. My name's Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. With that, I am going to wrap it up. I know y'all have got lives, and so do I. So we're going to be back Saturday morning for Front Porch Brunch, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We will be on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter. If you haven't done it on your way out the door, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up. You know, share the video around. Sub to the channel if you haven't done it yet. You guys are awesome. I absolutely love you. Thank you for everybody who's been here tonight. And We will be back Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. And as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher Tom T. Hall when he sang, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." We'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good night.